What once was one of the biggest phones available in the market today with a little bit of a quirk at the top has shrunken down but has grown up in plenty of other ways. Hey, it's Joshua Vergara from Android Authority. What's going on, everybody? And this is our first look at the OPPO N3. Users of the original OPPO N1 will notice that the N3 has actually shrunken down quite a bit, and that's actually one of the best parts about this device. The fact that it took what was once a very unwieldy phone and has put it squarely in the space of its flagship rivals, with a 5.5-inch screen that puts it in the size of things like the LG G3 and even the Samsung Galaxy Note line. Nonetheless, what we have here are a lot of the same OPPO elements that include the plastic elements kept together by a steel frame. A lot of what you're going to see usually on the bottom and top of the phones ends up on the sides, like the micro USB port on the left side and then a headphone jack over on the right side, and that is of course to make room for the rotating camera up top and the skyline notification light on the bottom, which we'll get into in a little bit. As far as the feel goes, however, yes, you do have quite a bit of heft and girth to this phone, but the fact that the steel frame does protrude a little bit out of the sides means that you will have a place to rest your fingers and easily grip the phone, whereas if you had very smooth sides, it might slip around a little bit too easily. As we take a look at the specs, we find the 5.5-inch screen comes in at 1080p resolution. This TFT construction also brings 403 pixels per inch. Underneath the surface is a 2.3 GHz Snapdragon 801, backed by 2 GB of RAM, 32 GB of onboard storage, and also a micro SD card slot for storage expansion. 3000 mAh is what you get in the built-in battery, but rapid charging is available with what is now a mini version of the VOOC fast charging originally introduced in the OPPO Find 7, which is nice. From there, we're taking a look at the Color OS here, which has been updated to Android KitKat, and it does bring with it some nice new transitions and optimizations. I found no issue with the speed thus far in my usage of the phone, and from there, Color OS does pretty much look the same as it did in previous iterations without the app drawer, but with other features that add on top of it, including the gesture panel from before. But of course, you do have the rotating camera up top, the main story of the OPPO N3, and it does have a 206-degree rotation for you to be able to take some pretty high-quality self-portraits considering the 16-megapixel optics underneath. It does have this interesting design choice here with the faux leather stitching, very akin to the Samsung Galaxy Note 3's back. So as far as the aesthetic goes, it might be a little bit questionable, but the main fact is you do have some enhancements underneath, and that's what I'll be able to illustrate for you using the O-Click. Now, the O-Click has been updated as well. You see this little piece right here that will come with the phone has a 5-button construction. That circle allows for up, down, left, right, and then of course the button in the middle for a number of functions that is even outside just the camera experience. However, as I show you here, I'll press the right button and there you go. You have a motorized camera up top. Yes, there's a motor underneath that will allow for the rotation of it easily and automatically, especially when you're using the O-Click. You can press right or left to immediately rotate it all the way around, or you can use up and down in order to move it in increments very slowly in order for you to get your shot off very nice and frame it just using the O-Click. And of course, you press in the middle and you'll be able to take your shot. As far as the camera application goes, it does look very similar to iterations from previous OPPO offerings, and there are quite a few options in order for you to cater the experience to what you want it to be. The viewfinder is pretty simplistic, but if you swipe up from the bottom, you will see a lot of different modes that are available, including things like the Ultra HD, in order for you to have some real fun with your photography. A manual mode is also available that actually gives you the ability to manually change the focus, which I thought was pretty nice for this particular camera. Now, a lot more applications will be available down here as well, as OPPO is making it open to developers in order to create even more experiences with the different modes underneath the surface. As far as the camera quality goes, I did see that the quality was quite nice, but I don't have any examples to show you. I will be putting this camera through its paces, and if it does rival its competitors in the market, then we might have a real contender here in the OPPO N3. And then we make it over to the back where we see an update to the O-Touch area. That little silver area underneath the OPPO logo is now a fingerprint scanner, and it happens to be one of the better iterations of it that we've seen thus far, very akin to the Huawei Ascend Mate 7. That little area on the back also has a very real and audible click to it, as it is actually a button that you're going to use for a number of different functions as well. But as far as fingerprint scanning goes, it is the same type of setup you would expect, where you're going to put a fingerprint in by pressing down over and over again on that area, and you'll be able to use it to even wake the phone from a prone standby position and easily get into the phone without any fuss at all, which is really great. The fingerprint scanner can also be used to lock content and applications on the phone itself, but of course being able to get from the prone position easily into the interface is still one of the best iterations of the fingerprint scanner that we've seen thus far. And on the OPPO side of things, they have done a good job with their iteration of it as well. And finally, there is the skyline notification light on the bottom that returns from the OPPO Find 7. But the enhancement here is the fact that a small protruding glass area on the bottom will be able to emit the light no matter what side of the phone you're looking at. Unfortunately, the only limitation when it comes to the skyline notification light returns as well, which is the fact that it only evokes one color, and that is a white bluish color coming out from the bottom. And so there you have it for this first look at the OPPO N3. If I'm honest, I'm actually pretty excited about this particular release, primarily because I thought the N1 was a pretty good phone, except the fact that it was way too big. That's not the case with the N3 this time around. What was once a pretty quirky idea with the rotating camera up top is now actually accessible and easier to handle all around. And the enhancements across the board, from the fingerprint scanner to the new O-Click, make this a very attractive package for pretty much any flagship looking user. As far as the full review goes, we're going to wait for our review unit and I'll put it through its paces. And like I said in the camera section of this video, if the camera quality is actually quite as good as its rivals, then we could have a real competitor here in the OPPO N3. Stay tuned for more, including my full review in the future of the OPPO N3, and stay tuned for more here live at the OPPO event in Singapore.